that truck.
Oi! Oi! Can we come inside? There's fucking zombies everywhere! Yeah, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to MovieStrange. This is a cult movie appreciation podcast where my two friends, Uncle Al and Drew Gould, present words to me that describe a film. So each one of them gives me 4 words that describes the film. I pick my movie we're going to talk about based on those 4 words. 8 words total, 4 words from each. So last week, these were the 4 words that I had to pick from. Teenage Murder, Uncle Creepy. Brother, Sister, Zombies, Oz. Now, in fairness, Uncle Al has, the last 3 movies have been from Uncle Al, so this went into I don't want to call it a loser category, but these 4 words came from...
It's a booby prize.
Booby prize. These 8 words came from Drew. And I picked Brother, Sister, Zombie, Oz. Okay? And I will let Drew describe what that film, the name of the film, and kind of a little description, and then we'll get into it from there. So, okay. Drew, take it away.
Well, I hope that you both enjoyed. I understand neither of you had seen it. Wyrmwood. Wyrmwood Road of the Dead. This is an essentially homemade Australian zombie movie. The poster says it right there. Mad Max meets Dawn of the Dead. If you've spent maybe 15 seconds with me talking about movies, you know I'm a sucker for anything Mad Max already. And this was one of those movies where it was both kind of exactly what I expected in some ways, in positive ways, and also really was full of real surprises for me. So if you have a trailer and you want to show it,
I do, but I have one question. All right, what confused me? I'm not going to lie about this. So I see this Brother Sister Zombie Oz, right?
Right.
Oz to me said Wizard of Oz, but I think it was Aussie, right? Which is kind of what the
Oz is another name for Australia,
of course. And the Ozpocalypse in the poster, I guess they have a movie. So Oz is what threw me off on this one. Okay, I just want to say that.
Is there is something in the air that's changing people.
I need you to get me to Bulla Bulla.
Why? To get his sister.
You get to see what the adults do after dark.
Oi! Can we come inside? There's fucking zombies everywhere! Yeah, okay. She can control zombies!
We need fuel. There's no way that could work.
There's one way to find out.
We need to armor up. Big time.
Ready? Born ready.
Come on, you dead bastards!
The medical box.
Open it!
Oh, beers. You want a beer, Frank? What do you fucking reckon?
Tell me where she is.
This truck runs on zombies. No zombies, no truck.
It's about the survival of the human fucking race, mate.
Hold on! Come on, you zombie!
You want a zombie? I'll get you a zombie. What?
Round them or through them?
Through him.
All right, now let me just jump in real quick. The genesis of this group, this podcast, was that these guys were going to show me cult films. I'm not a cult film guy. I like normal films, but not normal, but I like regular films. These guys are cult film aficionados. Now, Uncle Al, definitely the last 3 films have been, you know, that's what I'm expecting all the time. Then Drew drops this one, and this to me is like a normal film. And I love that I've never heard about this film and that I got introduced to it through this thing because this film is fantastic. Okay?
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And it's influenced by a lot of films, and we can get into that. But why don't you give us a little, kind of a description of the film, and then we'll get into if we liked. I mean, obviously, I liked it. I don't know, Uncle Al, what he thought, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I look forward to hearing Uncle Al's feedback, of course, but the word that I would use to describe how I reacted to this movie, because I thought Mad Max meets Dawn of the Dead. It's an Australian zombie movie. I'm like, all right, well, obviously I'm going to see this.
Right.
And the word I would use is gleeful. It's just fun. This movie is one of those movies. It was made by these 2 brothers. They shot it on weekends over 4 years. Wow. I listened to the commentary track. It's funny. There's certain scenes like the scene when the guys are trapped in the car in the truck at night. That's the scene where they accidentally set one of the zombies on fire, which sets their truck on fire. Everything inside the vehicle was shot 2 years after everything shot outside the vehicle. So as you're cutting back and forth, you're cutting across several years of stuff. And sometimes they point out things with certain characters. And you're like, well, see, his beard is really different because it was 18 months later, that sort of thing.
We got to do this. Spoilers, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Because you just mentioned something that is a spoiler, which is the fire aspect of this whole, that the fact that the zombie's breath catches on, and they fuel.
We'll talk about that for sure, yeah.
Good.
But I
spoilers.
mean, what I like about it is that it's a movie made by these guys who love movies that are really fun in these genres, and so they don't hide it. It's like they love George Romero, they love Peter Jackson, they love George Miller, they love the movies that those people made. They love Sam Raimi.
Edgar Wright, Evil Dead, right.
And yeah, I mean, the whole world that they create is gleeful in the love of these kind of movies, and yet it still does things that I did not expect. Wow. I did not expect not only the whole medical experimentation part of the story, I also really didn't expect where that in terms of the lead female character played by Bianca Brady, who is, and that's the other thing. All these people, they have worked to varying degrees in Australian movies and television, but they were all unknown to me. And they were all really striking, fun performances. And it's also, the only other thing I'll say about how the movie was made right now, this was also a crowdfunded movie.
Oh, wow.
So big Indiegogo money-raising things. People paid like $500 to support the movie. And the scene that the movie opens with, where they're trying to pull their truck back into the garage, they had about 25 zombies there. That was the day with the most zombies. And almost all of them were people who gave money and drove in from all over Australia, like father and son, all kinds of stuff, because they wanted to make the movie, and then they got to be in the movie. And obviously, any cent that they had for this movie, they spent on props and makeup and gore and just it's all there. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed it.
They certainly did a lot with the money that they had. I mean,
yeah.
It's pretty impressive. Just the different
there's scenes that you would look at, you won't go, oh, that's the greatest CGI I've ever seen. That's the most realistic execution of this idea I've ever seen, as far as a certain stunt or whatever. But I mean, they did really have a woman jump from a truck onto a car. They really did have all this real makeup and goo and everything on all these people. So they went for it.
Well, they did. That woman almost got killed too, jumping from that, as I read stuff about it, because this film, it's a zombie film, right? And it has influences in every film you've ever, like Evil Dead. There's the stuff they do about the one-liners they do when they suit up, like "let's go" or whatever they do. The quick cutting that Sam Raimi did in Evil Dead, and then Edgar Wright does in Shaun of the Dead. All that quick cutting stuff, all this stuff. But the twist that they do, and we can get into it a little bit. the fact that the woman can control the zombies through the experimentation, whatever they were doing, she figures out she can control them, was a cool twist. And it's a different twist. And not only that, the fact that the zombies' blood can catch on fire. And they can fuel the cars with the zombies by plugging them in. Al, what'd you think?
I thought this was a fun movie. I don't think I would necessarily go out of my way to like seek this kind of thing out because I'm not really a fan of like 2000s horror that much.
What do you mean?
Anything made like post 2000. Like I like horror movies that are shot on film. It's hard for me to really enjoy like.
There's a little bit of CGI stuff going on in here.
Well, it's not necessarily CGI. I have a hard time with the look when I'm watching a horror movie, like because I grew up on 80s and 90s. Like I like that film look. But this was a fun one, and I really enjoyed the twist with the sister who controlled the zombies. I think I actually wish the movie focused more on that, and she was actually the main character, and we delved more into the power of what she could do and how she could use that to her advantage.
Can I ask you a question? Have you seen Train to Busan?
I have not seen that yet.
Oh, fantastic!
Right.
Fantastic zombie movie.
Okay. I think that's, as I was watching this, I was thinking about that film. Obviously, you're thinking about Mad Max Fury Road. They really, and I guess, it's the sincerest form of flattery or whatever it is, where you can just actually see the movies that they're mimicking. But then the twist, like you're saying, the twist with the sister who can control zombies, the Aborigine who becomes like one of the heroes of the, I just found it, I just loved it. I loved it, and I want to see more of it. And I guess they're trying to pitch a series or something or whatever. You sent something, a link about some series they're trying to do, but.
I mean, the movie did quite well on the festival circuit, and it's got its own following. And of course, the biggest thing about making a movie is that you want to get the chance to make more movies.
Sure.
And so the way that the movie ends, I won't talk about the details of it, so it's not a spoiler warning. But the way that it ends, it really clearly there's a lot more story they could tell. I don't know how much more of that story would be that interesting based on what is in the movie, but they want to do more. And the trailer. The teaser that they made, I don't know. It was basically like, we want to make a TV series. Here's 6.5, 7 minutes of a scene. And the way that plays out, where you don't see any characters that you were actually was really kind of a cool way to do it, because that actually answered the concern that you had about how you wish that she was more of a main character, because at the end of it, at the end of that teaser, Bianca Brady's character, Brooke, her brother is there as well, but she is front and center. She is the reason that story is going to move from that scene. Right. And I mean, the clever stuff like, you have A negative blood, you haven't been affected. Everybody else.
That's me, by the way. I have A negative blood, so
obviously. Well, that's the other. So the only thing that confused me was, it seemed like it was an airborne thing, like they couldn't breathe.
Yeah, it was COVID zombie.
Right. The COVID, it's all this stuff is all happening at the same time, right? You got COVID brain, you're trying to figure out. But so everybody that could open their mask and breathe the air was A negative, and they were fine.
That's apparent. I mean, see, here's the thing. This is one of those movies that it does not explain in any real detail
the disease,
why the zombie thing happened. It doesn't even is a disease. I mean, the title is a reference that they talk about from the book of Revelations about Wyrmwood, and they see shooting stars, and then this stuff starts. So I mean, it could be magical. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Explanation as you get from like Night of the Living Dead or anything else.
Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't really matter, because these movies, to me, like, I don't watch Dawn of the Dead and go, oh well, they got to fix this. No, it's over.
Right.
We can't go back.
Wow.
So you might want to figure out what the rules are in this world, like gas and kerosene doesn't work, but you can use zombie farts as petrol. And some people, you can put zombie blood in them. I don't know what was driving that experimentation in the first place, but the scene where she first discovers that she can control him, and how she is so surprised by that, because she basically sees herself through the prone zombie's eyes.
Right.
I was surprised by that too. And what are they going to do with it? And what they did with it was really fun and really cool.
Yeah. Listen, what was cool about the trailer you sent today was I'm watching it going, okay, they're trying to knock off the film. They found a woman that looks like the main woman from the film we watched. And then they open the lid up and you go out, oh, no, she's still there. And she's controlling everybody. I was like, okay, I could, like the night of, the Walking Dead or whatever, I think I could get into this one. This will be fun. Having said that, the other thing that works is the Aussie attitude, right? That scene in the trailer where they open up the medical, he goes, get the medical kit. I've been shot. My arm is literally, the guy's arm's chopped off. He goes, he opens up, there's 2 beers in the medical kit. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All that, and the scene in the shed, he goes, okay, come on in.
Yep.
I love the Aussie attitude about, hey, this shit's going down, but we're just going to deal with it and deal with it in our own way.
When they were thawing out Neville from the freezer, and the one guy was holding a blow dryer to warm him up so they could get the gas out of him.
Right. Nah, so listen, and as a one of these cult films that I'm trying to learn to watch, I could watch these all. This one I could watch all the time.
Yeah, it's just fun.
I think for me, I wish they would have gone into the biblical stuff a little more. Like, I think, at least in my opinion, like what I would like to see would be more of the biblical stuff with more of her controlling the zombie in like a post-apocalyptic war kind of thing.
Where's the biblical?
She could be like zombie Jesus or something. Controlling the undead.
No, I think to me that's a way that the television series, which they call Wyrmwood Chronicles of the Dead, that could go, and I would be on board for that. I mean, it's interesting to find out what causes these things. Is it Night of the Creeps where they're aliens? Is it a disease? Is it something magic? Is it whatever? I guess Prince of Darkness. It's essentially a religious cause for people losing their minds, things like that. So this one they didn't explain what it was. In a way that I go, now I know what's going on, but you could explore that in the series. If it ended up being something that is, frankly, something that our friend Sean could write, I don't have a problem with exploring that stuff because, anything, especially in the what some people call the Old Testament of the Bible, it's very graphic. It's very violent. It inspires fear. And so if this is the end of the world, when something crosses the sky and falls down and turns people into beasts, and some people are already gone because they imply that some people are raptured, some people are gone, and then there's those of us are stuck, we're being tested. I mean, that's not a new story to be told, but it's definitely I would watch a show that Walking Dead is sort of most people, and if you get bitten, you'll get the disease. I'm not exactly, I guess you don't have to get bitten only to get the disease in this, but it can be transmitted. It's in the air in some way. But again, I don't really care about the technical stuff of it because it's just a fun ride.
Well, and the government, not only that, the government was creating the disease. They were injecting people trying to figure out what's going on too. So everybody was doing all kinds of stuff to.
Well, the mad scientist guy, I mean, that part kind of reminded me of like Reanimator. And Herbert West doing his weird experiments. And honestly, the first time that I saw the mad scientist, I immediately thought of Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit for some reason. Like just seeing his face is like, oh, that's Judge Doom walking in. Yeah. I don't know why, but
that's funny. Well, I mean, he's definitely some part of the government or military is ready to go with medical experimentation 2 days after this all starts. Is a little unsettling. But that actor himself, I've never seen him in anything. I mean, he's got like Bruce Spence. He was in he's the gyro captain in the original Mad Max movies. Yeah. And he's in a lot of other stuff. He's in Return of the King and one of the Matrix sequels and stuff.
He did look like that dude.
He's very Australian.
Yeah.
And like a national treasure of their movie world. And this guy had that kind of weird vibe. Not everybody could sell that and be both ridiculous and scary. And he was scary. It was when he starts going after people with tools and things, you don't know exactly how far this is going to go.
And he shoves that one thing. Okay, so the gore, he shoves that one thing up the guy's nose and pulls him through the mask and all that. And what was that? He was experimenting all over the place, and the zombies were both fast and slow, right? right?
Well, I think we learned that at night they're fast because they've
stored up
their own fuel.
Right, they're using their own fuel. Yeah, a lot of interesting things they were trying. You know, that's the thing. They used a lot of tropes. We say that word all the time. Zombie tropes, not stealing, but homaging to all the movies: Evil Dead, Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. But then flipping them and saying, "Okay, this is our thing." Just like Train to Busan, you've got to go find that one. The sequel, I guess, is not as good as the original, but the original is fantastic.
Neither is the prequel.
Yeah,
there's an animated prequel,
and they're about to do an American version of Train to Busan. I heard, maybe pre-COVID, but that movie takes a zombie.
Like a great idea.
That does the same thing. It takes a zombie thing and it kind of flips it a little bit. It's really good. But this one, I have to say, as a cult film, I think this is great. This is great.
Well, what Train to Busan does, which I did not expect, and which is why it really was so, action movie and horror movie and all that stuff, but it's got really just wonderfully written and acted characters.
Yes.
The stakes are really raised. This movie is much more cartoonish, which is fine, but watching the movie, I want them to survive. This does do the thing that a lot of zombie movies do, which is if you think zombies are bad, wait till you see how awful people are going to be. Which is in every George Romero movie and all these other things. It's not I wouldn't see this movie and say, I think I'm gonna weep worrying about the fates of these characters. Train to Busan really got me.
Yeah,
but Train to Busan is much more intense. This has got great action. It's got great gore. It's got a lot of funny stuff. It's mostly, again, I just go back to this movie was made with love. It's gleeful.
Well, the other thing, to kind of jump on what you
love the genre.
Yeah, but to jump on what you just said, in most, like in even Walking Dead, it's you're putting yourself in the position of the people who are in that, and you go, I don't want to die. I would never want to die in that thing. You look at this Aussie version. The guy, a lot of people are just going, hey, my hand got chopped off. Give me a beer, take me out. I'm done. And even the Aborigine guy goes, all right, I'm going to help you by letting a zombie bite my finger so I can become a zombie, and I'll help you, because he knows the sister's going to be able to control him and be able to. So it's like this idea that, as Americans, we're like, my life is so sacred, it's all that matters. And these Aussie kind of films are like, hey, life is like that. That's why the medical kid opens up a couple of beers. He's like, this is how I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out like I lived, which is, and I just find it refreshing. It's refreshing. And this is a good word for it. I made a good pick, even though it was in the loser pile. I think I made a good pick. And again, what confused me was the odds.
There is no losing in this game.
There is no. I know there's no. Everybody wins. But if you had typed OZZIE, I would have said okay. But you didn't. You were tricky. You said Oz.
If I typed that, I would have thought you would think it was an Ozzy Osbourne movie, and I didn't want to.
No, but you did a good thing. It was good. So I just I loved it. I loved it.
I think I'm going to be nitpicky for a minute, but the one thing that I didn't like was the I hate digital blood effects.
Yeah, that's
like I would rather them just cheap out and not do blood. If they're forced to do that to amplify the blood, it bothers me seeing that. It just takes me out.
That's fair. I mean, even the guys themselves will say there are certain scenes just to watch those commentaries where you're not learning a lot about their thought process of how they wrote it and how they came up with it and stuff, but they're telling you like, man, I love this way the scene is lit, and this is why it was lit this way and why it worked, and this scene looks like total garbage and I'm so embarrassed and we had to put it in and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But one of the things is, they don't pretend that their CGI effects and their practical effects are on the same level, because they really nailed the practical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the practical looked great for what it was and the budget.
Right.
I just don't feel like it needed the CGI blood. Like, just don't even do it.
Here's the other thing that you'll enjoy based on what you said about the way that you like that horror movies look shot on film. Yeah. So these guys, over 4 years, they actually listed all the models. They shot this whole movie across those 4 years on 7 or 8 different cameras, all video, all different ones like Ari this and Red that, and all these different cameras, and at least 3 different frame rates.
Wow.
So they were cutting everything together and they were dropping frames not as a cool effect, but because they didn't match. So one of the it's a brother. These two brothers. They wrote it. One directed it. One produced it. And I guess they're of course all involved in the editing of it and everything. They basically said they had to go back and manually fix that, like re-edit the whole movie once they discovered that problem. So if they had shot the whole thing on film, it not only would have given you the look that you're talking about, which is its own style, and I definitely get the appeal of that. It also would have saved them a lot of trouble because
I actually liked how this movie looked. I thought some of the scenes looked great, especially when they're like walking through the forest and they have like the coloring's a little different. Like I couldn't tell if that was they color corrected it that way or it just like sort of naturally looks that way in that forest. And I thought it looked really cool.
That's a deliberate trick. They said they saw Star Trek Into Darkness, and the first scene is Spock in the volcano, and the foliage in that is that bright red stuff. So they went and they shot in this forest with these bright green leaves, and then they spent time color grading it to this very, you're listening to this First Nation guy Lenny's story, and he's telling you what happened, but it's got memory and oddness. I mean, a lot of these movies, they're going to live and die on the mood that they set. And there's definitely real weird atmosphere in that scene, and the color grading alone sells it.
Well, and the movie starts with the hero of the film, Barry, I think is his name.
Yes.
Shooting his daughter and his wife because they turned in his car.
Ralph, come on, they weren't his daughter and his wife anymore.
No, not when they turned, they weren't. And he used a nail gun, like a compressor nail gun, to do it. And then that guy comes up in the tunnel.
That would really work in real life. But...
No. What do you mean it wouldn't work? You have to get up close.
You need the air compressor.
That's a good point. Yeah, it doesn't work. That's right.
But
I forgot about that. Yeah, good point.
I didn't mind.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about this movie. So when he's killed his wife and daughter, and then he's in the tunnel, and he's basically he tried to kill himself as soon as he killed them, and he was out of nails. And then he encounters that guy who comes and basically he wants the guy to kill him, and they end up like, we're going to travel together. And then they're walking through the bush, and then the guy the First Nations guy who becomes the main character in the movie with Barry, he blows the white guy's head off. Well, it turns out that the white guy was supposed to be the main other lead in the movie.
Oh, that's the story, right?
You can't.
Oh wow!
You can't really pull it off sometimes. So they're like, we're going to keep him in the movie, but here's what we're going to do, and we're going to give a lot of his lines and part to this other character. How are we going to make that transition? Well, they literally just
shot his head off. Yeah, and he did another play. He was doing another play. I read that thing, and oh, that's so funny.
It's got that line. He's like, oh, is he not a zombie? Oh, fuck, is he okay?
Yeah.
No,
it's
not okay.
It's a good call. This is a good call. I really enjoyed the film. So
good.
I don't know. We don't rate on this thing because it's just about how I approach the films, but I thought it was fantastic.
I think it's a fun movie if you just want to put on and watch like a zombie movie, that has something a little bit different to it,
As opposed to what? I mean, what other? I don't get it. So you have zombie nights, and what other kind of? What other kind of genres do you do when you go?
Zombie genre is a well-tread genre.
Yeah, totally is.
If you are looking for a zombie movie that gives you something a little different, like with the woman who's able to control the zombies, then this is a fun one to watch.
And what is it about Aussie? Like, have you guys ever seen You're Next? That horror film about the family that gets together, and the woman who's the hero is this Aussie. Like, she grew up on out in the woods or something, and she's the one killing everybody. What is it about these hot Aussie ladies who can do all kinds of cool stuff?
I don't know. I have family in Adelaide. I'll check in with them and find out.
Find that thing out, because
what's with these hot, murderous Australian women?
They're the heroes of these films. Like in What's Next, she's the hero of the film, and this one, you don't know what's going on. I couldn't figure out what's going on with the sister because. They made her a thing. You could tell something was going to happen, and then she becomes it's the whole trigger of the whole film. She becomes the zombie controller.
the comic really loses his wrist, and then there's beer for him before he dies.
Yeah.
Like, I love his performance, his mustache, all that stuff.
Eddie.
But
I think his name is Eddie.
Eddie, right. Bianca Brady, who plays Brooke, I think she's like a real discovery to me. I thoroughly just got into her performance. I believed her emotionally. I believed her as this sort of little tiny girl who really could get out of these situations. And I never for one second worried, she can control zombies. Is she going to do something bad with it? But maybe you could look at that in a TV series and explore what that kind of power could do. And I believe she could sell me on that too.
Yeah. No, her physicality was amazing. And they did the whole scene in the shed where her two friends got taken down and she's flying around, climbing up chains and all that stuff. And you knew, obviously they set it up, but yeah, no, it was great. I don't know what else to say. Anything else? Anybody else?
It's fun. These movies that we bring to you, we love them because they're fun. They may not always be easy to watch, but they're fun. And this movie is just straight up fun.
Yeah,
it's not for everybody. It's nasty, but it's fun.
Well, it's nasty in the zombie sense. Like you expect. And this was actually Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead was more graphic than this is, more gory. They're ripping intestines out of those films. You don't see any of that.
That's true. You only see a little bit.
I mean, needles up the nose are pretty harsh, and some of the stuff.
This is way more graphic than. Except there's only
I disagree.
In Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead that are more graphic, maybe.
I didn't find this to be like the gore in this is like part of it is because it's CGI. A lot of it's CGI gore, right? Bullets to the head and all that stuff.
Well, even when the guy gets his head blown off, the bearded guy who finds him in the tunnel, and then
but do you remember the first scene in Dawn of the Dead when they go in that apartment
and they blow that head off?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but that to me was gorier than this one. I thought.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh wow.
I think this movie is a lot. I think this movie is a lot wetter than those movies.
Yes.
There's just more blood. There's more goo.
Wow.
And all the medical stuff. Like personally, the medical stuff. Like to me, The Exorcist is a scary movie. But the most unsettling stuff in the movie is the medical stuff.
I completely agree with you.
To have a whole medical thing in here is to me is grosser.
No, I don't disagree with that. And the wet, because the blood becomes a big issue about fueling and fire and all that stuff.
Right.
Yes, because it has to be wetter.
I would say Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, it looks more real, and because they're using like actual animal parts for the gore.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I don't like, but in terms of like gore factor, I think this is gorier.
I think this is more unsettling, right, because of the medical stuff. That whole experimenting going on in that room, and that she could be next, getting the probe up the nose and all that. Yes, that's. But I still find those other, and maybe Al, like you're saying, because those were shot on film, and they have a much grimier, grittier look than these. These kind of have a slick. Video makes everything look a little slicker. And then you add CGI shooting and all that stuff on top of it. It takes away some of the, like Dawn of the Dead, when they're ripping those intestines out, it feels like they're ripping those intestines out. Yeah. Obviously the movie, but anyway, but that's,
Well, the whole thing in Day of the Dead is about medical experimentation, and let's protect the doctor so that he can do experiments on zombies, which becomes more unsettling as the zombies, I'm totally blanking on his name. Is it Bob?
It's Bud.
Yeah, I mean, he actually seems to have a personality.
Right.
And so, that's the thing. She's controlling the dead in this movie, Wyrmwood. Who are they? Why are they dead? How can she control them? There's a lot of mystery series about it. And there's a reason that they keep making zombie movies.
I was thinking it was some kind of like, they're basically saying that zombies have a hive mind mentality, and that she somehow has been able to tap into the hive mind and control it. So,
well, they needed more fuel.
Her eyes match theirs when she uses the power. So they physically link with her in some way. Right. I think that's fair.
Well, this is high on the list. This was a good one.
Good.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna. That's what I want to say. And if the TV series comes out, if they ever do that, it would be a good one to watch. I think.
I think that teaser is a few years old already, so I don't know what it is.
That didn't happen, huh?
Well, you never know. I mean, there's only more and more outlets for people to need content for, so you never know.
I know. That's both good and bad, but in this case, it would be good to see more of this stuff. They did a great job. I love the film, so Nice.
Well,
All right.
supposedly they were they were trying to get funding for a sequel this past August for it's called Wyrmwood Apocalypse.
Oh,
I did not know that.
So
Great.
maybe
I'm
check
glad
it
to hear
out
that.
if they actually make it.
damn COVID. There you go. You ruined a nice franchise that could have been great.
Well, when I get my $600 check from the government, I'll give it to them and be a zombie in their movie.
There you go. Is
There
that
you
what
go.
it costs to be a zombie?
I don't think Australia will let Americans fly there anytime soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's the problem with that one. We're all going to be zombies anyway. Eventually, we're going to be there. This movie was quite, when you airborne disease. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. And this came out in what 2015, right?
2015.
Yeah, it's amazing.
2015,
Amazing.
2014. Yeah.
All right. Now it's time for 2 movies, 4 words, brought by Uncle Al and Drew. Okay, here we go. Subway, Butcher, Hammer Flesh. That's got to be an Al one. Has to be. And the other one is Calvinist. Oh, Southern Cal Pilgrimage Rescue. Subway, Butcher, Hammer Flesh. Hammer Flesh. I'm going to go Subway, Butcher, Hammer Flesh.
All right, that's me.
Aha! Look at that. 2 in a row. Well, 1 in a row, really.
I don't.
Okay.
I suspect. I don't think you've seen this. I suspect Uncle Al has seen this. This is a movie that really just looked like a big hot piece of garbage, and like the one we just watched, genuinely surprised me with how much fun I had with it. It's called The Midnight Meat Train. It's based on the Clive Barker story. It has Bradley Cooper and a number of other familiar faces in it. And
That's the guy from Snatch, right?
That's what?
The guy from Snatch is in it, right?
Yes.
What's his name?
I'll confess right now I've seen this already.
Oh, you have?
I've seen it. This streaming, I think it was on Shudder or it was on some streaming, but maybe HBO, I forget. Because Bradley Cooper's in it.
Let's go with the other movie. I don't
No. Let's go. I want to watch it again. Yes, this is the rules.
Okay.
You can't change the rules.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm giving you the heads up. I watch it. I'll watch it again. But you're right. The guy from Snatch is in there. I think he's actually chasing Bradley Cooper. But yeah, let's go. I'm in. Are you kidding me?
All right, let's do it.
This is great. So that's it. Midnight Meat Train next week.
Clive Barker joint.
It's a Clive Barker joint.
That's right.
All right.
And actually, we can have a broader discussion about Clive Barker when we talk about that movie, because I actually generally have some trouble connecting with his stuff. I've never really got into, so we can talk about that.
Is Clive Barker a Hellraiser? Is that what? That's why this is. Yes.
He's also. Oh crap! What's that other movie? Oh Jesus!
Oh yeah, Hellraiser 2.
Yeah, Hellraiser 2, but the other one.
We need, because you know what? We need to do a deep dive into this guy, because you got to tell me what? Why? I mean, a Hellraiser I know is a phenomenon, but like, what? Why? This guy
I mean, he's
the scariest guy that's ever written a movie.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Nightbreed.
Nightbreed, right.
And he also did Candyman as well.
Oh, see, okay. You guys,
that's based
you
on
know
a
what?
prop.
Maybe down the road we'll do a Clive Barker special edition, and you guys can be the experts and explain to me, huh? What? Okay, great.
Oh, I can tell you what I think. I don't know if I can explain it to you, but I can tell you what I think. And we'll talk about it next week.
Yes, or a week. Yes, because this is a Clive Barker joint. Is that what you're saying? Midnight Meat Train's Clive Barker? Was he slumming?
It's directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, who is a Japanese director who's done a number of interesting horror films. We'll talk about that too.
I just remember that this was like Bradley Cooper was just starting to like come out of, I think he might have just done Hangover, or Hangover was coming out while he was doing this one. And it was more about Bradley Cooper.
This is one of those movies you're not sure if they made it 2 years before he became a star,
right?
And then they released it, which doesn't mean it's bad or anything. But Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger were in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, and that did not break their careers, but it sure was a windfall for the people behind that movie.
You're absolutely right. So that'd be a good topic of the conversation. Since I've already seen it, now I got to again. This was when it came out. What, 8 years ago? I forget when it came out.
At least.
At least.
Yeah. So this would be good. Good review. Good rewatch. So nice. All right. Good one. You guys have a nice week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Enjoy the holidays. We're in the holiday mood. There's a Christmas tree back there, even though we're doing cult movies, whatever. It's what we do. And we'll see you guys next week for Midnight Meat Train.
You guys have a good week.
Yeah.
Stay out of the subway.